welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. This is the week that was, and this is the week that will be the publication of The Way of Edan. It is coming out on March 21st in 3 days from the time that you are seeing this video, if you're watching it, when it comes out on Saturday. This is it, guys. This is it. The book, The Way of Edan, is being released, and I could not be more, I feel very at peace about it, actually. I feel very good about it. It's been a long process for me, and very rewarding, and I could not be happier with how things have gone. I think it's the fruition of many years of labor, but also many friendships made as well. And I really would like to, in the book, of course, I do have acknowledgments, and there are a lot of people who helped me along this path over these many years. So I'm incredibly thankful, and I feel very full of gratitude. So this is a good place to be. It's a very good place to be. Now, just so you all know, there are pre-orders now. The ebook pre-orders have been available for quite some time. So if you're going to do the ebook on your Kindle or whatever, it's there. And now there are pre-orders available for the paperback version as well. And I was a bit surprised by that because I didn't quite realize that it was going to work that way, but that's great. And I should explain that I am publishing in the paperback in 2 different venues, as it were, 2 places where you can self-publish. One is Amazon KDP, and the other is Ingram Spark, where a lot of self-published authors publish. And so these are doing the 2 of them for various reasons. I think that it's a good combination of accessibility and the widest possible market. I'm trying to make the book available to as many people as possible, really, is the bottom line. And so I don't know when you order yours from Amazon necessarily which one you're going to get. I think the pre-orders that have been available would be for the Ingram Spark version. Not that it matters, they're almost the same. I think there are slight differences in the quality of the paper or the cover. I've been told this and that about the differences, but it's the same book. So it doesn't really matter a ton which one you get, but I think the one that came up for pre-order is probably the Ingram Spark version, whereas I did just make the Amazon KDP version active, meaning it should show up on the web page on Amazon as being available for sale. Now, I have to sort of guess when it becomes available for sale, because they just say, all right, you make it active and it'll take up to 72 hours for the book to appear for sale. So it might happen earlier than the 21st. I do not know for sure. It might, but I have made it active in KDP, and so it should become, it should appear, soon, I guess. Definitely before the 21st, because I made sure to give a little more than 72 hours, actually, just in case. Because things have been going slowly with the publishers. The Ingram Spark, for example, the processing was supposed to take just 3 to 5 days. It took 14 days. It took 2 full weeks, 11 business days, but still. I also ordered author copies. I still don't have. I ordered some author copies, and it is taking forever, even though I paid for expedited delivery and publishing and all that. It is taking much longer than promised. So that is one thing to be aware of if you ever do self-publish a book. Give a lot of cushion. Give a lot of extra time. As it happens, I think we're going to make everything is fine, but it is a little frustrating not to have my author copies yet. But they are coming soon, and so I should have them soon. And otherwise, I'd be showing them off right now. I do have the 1 proof copy that I got from Amazon, which doesn't weirdly allow you to order author copies until the book is active. So you don't need to know all these details, but suffice to say that I am still without my own author copies, except for the 1 proof copy that I got. But soon I will have books to hold up and that sort of thing, and it'll be fun. But yes, and also I'm so excited about the reviews that are coming out, because I was able to send ebook arcs to some folks, and the reviews are starting to come out, and I am not going to comment on them as I promised. I want to give the reviewers their own space, and also the commenters who are, reacting to the reviews. I don't want to get in the middle of all that. Because I know a lot of people on the platform, and I think it would be a little weird for me to insert myself into their reviews that way. So I want to be respectful. And so, not that I have any problems with authors ever commenting on a review I have done of their books. I'm actually very comfortable with that, but I think I'm in a weird, unique position as a booktuber with a platform here, and having made a lot of friends on this platform. And the reviewers so far have been doing a great job, I think, of giving their honest opinions. And I have told all of my friends who are reviewing the book, look, you give your honest opinions. That's what matters the most. Let people really know, because I want people to know what to expect from the book. And so far, I think they're doing a brilliant job. So Alan had his review that came out first, and Joanna had one come out, and Patrick and Angela from Do Unicorns Read has one coming out, which it'll be out actually by the time this video is out. So I'm very excited to see that one. I am watching the reviews. I'm not commenting on them, but I'm watching them. So I'm very excited. So far, people have said some really cool things, and I'm really just grateful for anyone who decides to read and review the book. It's fantastic. So yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm in a good place right now. So I'm very happy. And I've been also up to some stuff on the channel. Let's talk about that. I've been doing some reading, and I have been talking about all kinds of fantasy. So I've been continuing to do the Vagabond manga discussions with Murphy, and having a blast with that. So I hosted the fourth bind up, and in fact she's done the fifth on her channel, and we've filmed the sixth already, which will be out on my channel on Tuesday, and we're going to continue with that until we finish with all the bind ups. Just having a blast with that, and realizing how at home I am with manga is kind of cool, actually, because, well, so far I've been very fortunate in reading Vinland Saga and now Vagabond, because I think there's some great storytelling going on there. But I also just feel at home because I grew up reading comic books, and I do know they're not the same. American comic books and manga they have their differences, but I'm so comfortable with storytelling that is in large part visual, but also, of course, there are words as well, but the visual component is something that I enjoy, actually, and makes me feel happy. It brings me somehow a little bit of nostalgia. So I really am enjoying that, and there's great storytelling. So good stuff. I also had a discussion of Senlin Ascends, Book 1 of the Books of Babel by Josiah Bancroft. I hosted the discussion. It was with Alan, and from the Library of Alexandria, of course, and Ben from Overly Average Ben, and Johan from Library of a Viking, and it was a great discussion. Also, Grace Dion was supposed to join us. Unfortunately, she was not feeling well that day, but hopefully she'll be back as we continue to discuss the series, and I'm really looking forward to it. I really loved the first book in the series, Senlin Ascends. It is quirky. It is interesting. It drew me right in. I felt a very strong connection with the characters, and I just love the concept of it. It's very bold. It's a very risky concept to write a book about, and I think Bancroft pulls it off marvelously. So I had a great time reading and discussing that. I did not do a dedicated review. I had planned to do that. Just a little bit short on time these days with books coming out and trying to keep up with the channel. I am putting out usually 3 videos a week, so I'm doing pretty well keeping up, but I just did not find time to film a dedicated review of Senlin Ascends, and that might be something in the future. I did host a discussion on it, and we did talk about it in a non-spoiler way for the first, 15 minutes or so. So if you want a non-spoiler review, that could serve for that, certainly. But I think going forward, I might, if I'm having a discussion, I did that with Malazan. I had all my discussions with AP. I never did do any just dedicated reviews. So that might be a thing I do more and more often going forward if I'm doing discussions, and especially if I'm hosting them. maybe I'm not going to do a dedicated review, but we'll see. I'll do what I can. I do enjoy reviewing the books, and I'll talk about them, here on the week that was as well, because I do enjoy sharing my thoughts on the books and hearing your reactions and your thoughts on each of the books as well. So, but that was a great discussion, and I'm looking forward to continuing that series with that gang. And what else did I do? I had an episode of Dear Dr. Fantasy with none other than the author Mark Lawrence, and author turned YouTuber Mark Lawrence, because he does have a channel, in case you're not aware. It's a fantastic channel and growing, and he gives a ton of writing advice. He does these opening analyses of openings of books, and he talks about his own writing journey, and of course updates about his book news and stuff like that. So I've enjoyed his content a lot. And of course, I am a huge fan, as most of you probably know, of Mark Lawrence's books. I've read 9 of them so far, 3 of his trilogies. I've loved every single one of them, and I hope that I'll love all of his future books as much or more. It seems like every time I read one of his trilogies, I'm more and more a fan of Mark Lawrence's writing. And so it was really just a wonderful thing to be able to sit down and chat with him about writing, about his books, about the themes that are present. Because most authors do have these favorite themes they go back to a lot, and Mark Lawrence is no exception. So I had a great time talking. It's a non-spoiler discussion. We won't spoil any of his books if you haven't read them. And what a fantastic person as well. I think it's well known that Mark Lawrence has done a lot for other writers, for new writers, for self-published writers. He started the SPFBO contest, which is, if you're not aware, it's a contest that self-published authors can enter their books into, and it basically gives a lot of attention to self-published authors. There are these 10 finalists who usually get a lot of great publicity out of it, and then of course there's a winner and all of that. So it's really a great service. And Mark Lawrence gets really nothing out of it other than the satisfaction, I guess, of helping other people. So that's just a really great thing, I think. I really loved that discussion. Had a great time chatting with Mark Lawrence. It was a very special episode for me of Dear Dr. Fantasy. And I had one other video on the channel, a discussion of The Way of Edan with my buddy, Nemesis, AP Canavan. We were talking about narrative style and world building. It's a spoiler-free discussion. Just talking about some of my inspirations, some of my intentions, I guess. I mean, the author is dead or whatever, but I did have some ideas about what I wanted to achieve there. So that is something that I discussed with AP, and that was a joy to talk to him, as always. And I have a lot of, as you can see, there's a nice pile of books here. I have actually finished some of these, and will be reading some of them in the near future. So let's start. I mentioned that I finished Senlin Ascends already, and I also finished, I mentioned this in my last week that I finished A Wizard of Earthsea, the first of Ursula Le Guin's Earthsea books. And it is just pure, not just pure nostalgia. It is nostalgia for me. I love her writing. I've always loved her writing since I read it as a teenager. But it's just such a brilliant meditation. And talk about, incorporation of themes. Ursula Le Guin, I love her writing. I just love her prose in the Earthsea books, which are very near and dear to me. And I had a great discussion about them with my friend Glenn and his friend Bill. And I'm going to be continuing to discuss the Earthsea books on their channel, which I'll be mentioning in a moment as well, because the next book, the Tombs of Atuin, we're going to be discussing on that channel, which is called Non-Terrestrial Half-Life. So I'll announce when that video is coming out. But I did put out an announcement in my community tab about the previous discussion on A Wizard of Earthsea. So we'll be covering Tombs of Atuin very soon. Those are spoiler discussions. And so I'm very much looking forward to Tombs of Atuin. and I loved. I mean, there's a reread for me. I read all those years ago, or actually I should say the first 4, because I read them long enough ago that the 5th book wasn't even out. So this will be good for me to be able to read the 5th book, the rereads of the first 4, read the 5th, and the short stories. And they're all in that book I was holding up a moment ago. I'm not picking it up again because it's heavy. But that collected edition illustrated really beautiful stuff. So what else did I do? Oh my goodness. I finished Jade City. The first in the Greenbone Saga trilogy. And I had a great time reading this. I really did. I'm beginning to understand the hype here. I have heard that this trilogy gets even better with each book. So if that is the case, if that's how I experience it, I'm definitely going to be deeply impressed because I already did have a great time with the first book. I might have a few, picky things here and there, but I'm just really impressed with Fonda Lee's writing overall. I enjoyed the experience a lot, and I found her characters to be very compelling, and I love the sort of family drama aspect of this, but also the unique and really interesting magic that she has in here, along with the setting. One of the things I really appreciated about Jade City was how rich and full the culture seemed to me, especially as an American coming from what is, for the most part, a very low context culture. I enjoyed reading about this much more high context culture. And if you don't know what I mean by that low context, high context thing, something I've talked about before when we were discussing the Long Price Quartet. But essentially, in a low context culture, people say kind of what they mean, and there's a very little nuance to their speech, and there's not a whole lot of reading between the lines that goes on. Whereas in a high context culture, a lot can depend on the way you say. People are much more in tune with what you say, so that sometimes somebody might say something, but they say it with a certain intonation, and the listener, if they're perceptive enough, will understand that the person actually means the exact opposite of what the words on a surface level might mean. So high context people are looking for body language much more. So if I say something, but my body language contradicts it, in a high context culture, they're much more likely to pick up on that sort of thing. And the culture that Fonda Lee brings to life in Jade City is most definitely a much more high context culture than what I'm used to as an American. So I love it. I absolutely love it, how she was able to achieve that, and many other things. So it was a very enjoyable experience for me. So yeah, I'm also, by the way, going to be in a discussion that I will be hosting on Jade City, which is part of a kind of read-along sort of thing that I'm doing here. Yes, another one. And I'll be chatting about Jade City with Bookborn, and with Taylor from Made Between the Pages, and with Jimmy from the Fantasy Network. And that is going to be happening very soon. I think that video should be out within a fortnight, within a couple of weeks. And I am very much looking forward to having that discussion. It won't be a live stream. We're going to record it, and I'll put it out on the channel in the relatively near future. So yeah, that'll be fun. Bookborn and Taylor are both big fans of the trilogy, whereas Jimmy is, like me, new to the trilogy, so I think it's going to be a good mix, a good discussion. I'm really looking forward to chatting with those lovely people. And what else am I up to? Well, I already mentioned the Tombs of Atuin. I'm going to be in that chat with Glenn and his friends over on Non-Terrestrial Half-Life. I'm also going to be reading, I have this here to remind me, I have Janny Wirtz's Curse of the Mistwraith. So a couple things about Janny Wirtz here. One, AP read the Curse of Mistwraith, and so that means that he and Jimmy and Joanna and I are going to have our spoiler-filled discussion. It is not yet scheduled, but we will be having it relatively soon. And I'm so excited for that, and I'm so excited to continue in the Wars of Light and Shadow by Janny Wirtz. I think this is going to be, in the end, if every book is as good at least as Curse of the Mistwraith, it's going to be a favorite series for me. It absolutely is going to be. We'll see. but I'm very excited to talk spoilers on this one, and I'll be making some announcements about that when that is scheduled. I still have the giveaway from way back when we had the non-spoiler discussion on Curse of the Mistwraith. And I have this extra copy of the second book, which is really books 2 and 3, the hardcover version. So I will be absolutely honoring that. All the people who left the comment to enter that giveaway will be going through with that. So more on that later. But I also wanted to remind me that I will be having a discussion on a Janny Wirtz novella set in the same world as the Wars of Light and Shadow. This novella is called The Gallant. And Joanna has read it, and P.L. Stewart has read it. And so I'm going to be reading it very soon, and we're going to have a discussion on The Gallant with Janny Wirtz herself, and I'm so looking forward to that. And it is, I've heard, I haven't read it yet, but I've heard it is a nice little introduction to that world. I don't know exactly yet because I haven't read it where it fits in the chronology of everything. But if you're interested in it, I'll try to have a non-spoiler portion of the chat so we can just tell people, here's where this fits in the context of the larger series, and we'll give some non-spoiler thoughts about it before we get into the spoilers during that discussion. So, yes, The Gallant by Janny Wirtz. That's going to be a lot of fun. Now, I am currently reading, and I made a good dent in it, Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb, and this is part of my read-along with Mike over at Mike's Book Reviews. He and I are going to finish Realm of the Elderlings this year. We probably will finish, actually, I think the way things are looking, in December. Because he and I are going to take a slight break after Fool's Fate. We're not going to read a Hobb book next month. We're going to resume with Hobb. Let's see. So this is March. So we might even take April and May off and resume in June with the Rainwild Chronicles. But I am going to be finishing this one well before the end of March. And it's Hobb. I have loved every book of hers so far. I don't mind the slow start. Yeah, I mean, we're you know, maybe an eighth of the way, a little more than an eighth of the way through right now, and we're getting to, you know, second T maybe or something like that. I don't mind though, because I really do feel like she gets me so connected to her characters before she does all that stuff to them, and I think she's just a brilliant genius. I think she's just fantastic with her character work. So I'm here for whatever she's doing. And I'm really looking forward to discussing this trilogy, Tawny Man, with Mike and also with the other members of our Hobb discussion series that Mike is hosting. Speaking of which, we are going to be having, or actually by the time this video comes out, the live discussion, the live stream will have already happened, but we're having this discussion in a few hours from when I'm recording this, and it's going to be on the Lives of Traitors. The Lives of Traitors, the second trilogy in the Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. So that's going to be over. If you missed it, it was last night while you're watching this. It's a little weird for me to be recording this and then talking about what's going to happen, but you get the idea. So go and check out the discussion. It's Mike is hosting, and Madison Goodyear will be there, as well as Jake Bishop and Scott from the Bald Booktuber. So a wonderful group of people, and I'm very much looking forward to that discussion. I'm sure when you're watching this, I will be able to say I had a great time in that discussion. So, what else am I doing here? Of course, I'm continuing with Vagabond, and Murphy and I are now going to be on book 7, and this is a discussion that will take place on her channel eventually. As I said, discussion on the 6th bind-up will be out on Tuesday on my channel. So I'm really loving Vagabond. It's every kind of one of these bind-ups has me more and more invested in the series. There's been a lot of highs along the way of this series. I love the incorporation of theme. I love the incorporation of the spiritual element. I was scared a little bit at first that it was going to be all, bang, bang, fight, action, which, it does really well too. The action is brilliantly presented. But I have to say that my investment in the series increased tenfold when anyway, started to more and more get the spiritual elements of this across to me. So I'm really very grateful for that. I love the infusion of the Buddhist philosophy in there. That just, to me, it really elevates this series tremendously, and I'm enjoying it a lot. Other things that I'm continuing, haven't quite yet started, but because I've been reading this other stuff, but I will be continuing with Book of the New Sun, and I'm in that read-along with Matt over on Matt on Books, and also with our friend Paul Williams, who is a PhD student studying fantasy. And we had the discussion already on the first book, The Shadow of the Torturer, but we're going to be continuing our discussion series. The next one's going to be on Matt's channel, and it's going to be on Claw of the Conciliator, and I am looking forward to that. We're going to be filming that in mid-April. That was the only time that was the earliest time we could all find when we could all meet. So that is going to be happening. And I'm continuing, of course, in the Books of Babel, and I hear that Arm of the Sphinx is awesome, so I'm really looking forward to reading this next installment in Josiah Bancroft's series. I loved the first one, as I said, and it's going to be really awesome to continue. And I have something, this is really me just kind of showing off a little bit here, the fact that I have this. I have one of the arcs of The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence, and this is going to be coming out in May 9 in the United States and May 11 in the UK. I don't know what the date is going to be everywhere else, but it is something that I'm very, very excited to read, and I feel like, based on what I've heard, based on what Mark Lawrence has, the little hints he's dropped here and there, and our discussion on Dear Dr. Fantasy, where he talked about some of the themes that he's wrestling with in here, I think this is going to be a really fascinating read, and I'm looking forward to it very, very much. I will be releasing a review of it shortly before the release, so look for it in early May. So those are all the things these are things I'm up to. You can expect content on all or most of these in the near future. Having a lot of fun. And this is all wonderful stuff. I have some other Dear Dr. Fantasy episodes already filmed, and so those will be coming out too. Very excited for you to see those. I had a really lovely time chatting with some just really great people, and so I hope that you'll enjoy those episodes of DDF, as it's known these days. And I have some chats with some really wonderful people too on The Way of Eden. I already filmed one with Patrick, so that'll be coming out. I have some others lined up. There's going to be one that Joanna is hosting with a bunch of cool people. So look for that. I have a discussion with Ed and Will over on the Brothers Gwyn, so look out for that as well. So exciting times. Lots of exciting times here. Thank you so much for listening to all of this, to all of my excitement, and it's really a privilege and an honor and a blessing to interact with all of you. Thank you for all your support on this channel, and if you decide to try out The Way of Eden, thank you. I cannot thank you all enough for your support. I would not be in this place without you. So that is it from me for now. Until next time.